Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about Blackrock and their recent dive into the world of Bitcoin. I want you to remember that these people at the top of the socioeconomic food chain do not care about you and I. All they care about is lining their pockets and getting away with whatever it is that they want. And if that means getting Bitcoin, then so be it. They'll get Bitcoin. The Bitcoin therapist here says Blackrock is the next Bitcoin whale. Here's what you need to know about the world's largest asset manager. Blackrock was founded by Larry Fink and 7 others in New York City in 1988. In 1989, a year after they started, AUM, assets under management, were valued at $2.7 billion. Not that much. By the end of 1992, just 3 short years later, $17 billion. By the end of 1994, and if you're keeping track, that's 6 years after they started, $53 billion. Boy, things sure do escalate fast when you're Blackrock. A decade later, they would become the largest asset manager in the world. Today, one share of BLK trades for $711, and they manage nearly $10 trillion. That's with a T, ladies and gentlemen, trillion. Following the pandemic in 2020, Blackrock was chosen by the Federal Reserve to manage corporate bond buying programs. Being in the pocket of the Fed and doing what they want, sounds kind of cushy. Could you be any closer to the money printer? In 2020, BlackRock was the first global asset manager to get approval from China to set up mutual fund business in the country. As of 2022, BlackRock managed the equivalent of 40%, nearly half, 40% of the GDP of the United States. Let that sink in. Nearly half of the total output of the entire United States of America under management by BlackRock. Those are some staggeringly large numbers. BlackRock has established itself as the premier asset manager in the world. Its relationships expand beyond TradFi and into global politics. Beyond TradFi and into global politics. That is a very important thing to remember as we move forward. Not just managing assets, but global politics. Enter crypto. The CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink, admits the USA is lagging behind the rest of the world on crypto regulation, but the technology, blockchain, is important for the future. Now BlackRock is seeking approval from the regulators for an ETF/trust, will be using Coinbase as a custodian and their spot market data for pricing. To date, no spot Bitcoin ETF product has been approved. Note, I'm aware there's some controversy over ETF versus trust language. But will regulators deny the largest and most influential, remember politics, most influential asset manager in the world whose reach extends beyond that of traditional finance and into global politics? It seems likely that BlackRock has already achieved the approval, but is simply submitting the paperwork as a formality. It appears that BlackRock has deliberately filed for a spot ETF/trust amidst the legal dispute of their partnering company, Coinbase. Does BlackRock know something we don't? Oh, please. I know that the Bitcoin therapist is being rhetorical. He must be here. Because if you're that close to the Fed, right next to the money printer, you had better believe they know something we don't. Many somethings. Maybe, I dare say, 10 trillion somethings, eh? Chair of the SEC, Gary Gensler, has it out for the crypto giant Coinbase. He believes the majority, if not all, of the tokens should be identified as securities, and Coinbase failing to register is a direct breach of security laws. Recently, a bill has been submitted to Congress to remove Gensler from office. His term does not end until 2026, and he is not able to be removed unless he exhibits a, quote, standard of inefficiency, neglect of duty, or malfeasance. Bitcoin advocates believe that the approval of a spot Bitcoin ETF/trust could send the price flying into the hundreds of thousands of dollars per coin. They feel that institutional investors are waiting for regulatory clarity and customers want a redeemable Bitcoin product. BlackRock has more exposure to Bitcoin than you think. MicroStrategy owns 140,000 Bitcoin, and BlackRock has a large share in their business, about 6%. Here's the takeaway. BlackRock is the largest asset manager in the world, whose reach extends into many asset classes, countries, and geopolitical spaces. They are in the weeds. They have got their spidery tendrils all over the world. If Blackrock's product is approved and allows Bitcoin redemptions, it will be a huge success for Bitcoin adoption and policy. The largest asset management firm in the world, BlackRock, is aligning itself to be the next Bitcoin mega whale. Now, before you get too bullish on all that news, there's something that I want you to keep in mind. This is something that has been talked about, foretold, if you will, for years, that we are going to reach a point where some great collapse happens and some great change will come about from that collapse. Maybe we will see hyper-Bitcoinization. Maybe some countries or many countries will see the need for Bitcoinization. Maybe BlackRock and all these institutional investors will come along, and this will signal some great new shift in the global consciousness. But maybe such a large change like that won't happen. Maybe that won't happen at all. Maybe what will happen is something far worse. There will be no collapse the way some of these people think of it. It's not going to be like the movie Dawn of the Dead or whatever, where one day suddenly poop hits the fan and prices skyrocket and everyone begins to riot and the SS comes marching down the street to kill everyone. There will be no happening. It is far more insidious than that. Every day you'll find yourself lowering your standards for everything: work, food, relationships, etc. Job security will no longer exist as a concept. You'll notice houses and apartments shrinking. People will start hanging on to clothing longer and longer. Less people will get married and even less will have children. People will engross themselves in technological distractions and fantasy while never truly experiencing the real world. Whatever dream people used to have about what their lives were going to be will become, for them, a distant memory. The only thing left for them will be the reality of their debt and their poverty. And every minute of every day they will be told, "You are stupid, ugly, and weak, but together we are free, prosperous, and safe." That is the collapse. The reduction of the American man into a feudal serf, incapable of seeing the pitiful nature of his situation for what it is or recognizing his self-worth. Now, you might find that a strange transition from the BlackRock news that I started this with, but to me, it is a perfect segue, because that is exactly the kind of thing that will happen. It will not be an overnight transition from this to that in BlackRock. No. It will be gradual. The frog in the boiling water. The nightmare is not the collapse. The nightmare is that they pull off the end of history and things just gradually get worse. More crime, more poverty, more degeneracy, fewer services, and a population incapable of anything other than demanding larger doses of the poison. Which ties in exactly with Marty Bent's point here. He tweeted on June 19th, 2023, bank bailouts, jailing Assange, Congress openly insider trading, big pharma-backed lockdowns. The last 15 years we've had constant reminders that we live in a two-tiered society with no rule of law, yet people keep thinking that if they vote harder, things will change. The only way to change the system is to starve it of its funding by adopting Bitcoin as your money and making you and your family as self-sufficient as possible. In 2008, the banks took on so much risk that they incited a global economic slowdown, begged for bailouts, and received them in relatively short order. The American taxpayers footed the bill through direct fiscal spending and a debasement of their purchasing power via QE, quantitative easing, which served to enrich the banks who drove the economy to the brink. As much as I would like it to be true, this is Marty Bent writing, I do not feel that there is a way to vote your way out of this hellscape. Certainly not at the federal level. The predators have completely co-opted the system, and if you think they are going to relinquish their power and their ability to operate without consequences because you signal your wish for justice at the ballot box, I have a unicorn that poops gold to sell you. The only way to cut the rot out of our system is to tear it out at its core. The money printer. All of their power stems from their ability to print money out of thin air and throw it at whatever they want to manipulate the rules and incentives in their favor. John Adams exclaimed that those who fought for independence from England were looking for a nation of laws, not men. We currently live in a nation of men who have the ability to bend the laws to their will. Laws do not exist as things to be respected anymore. They are inconveniences that can be manipulated whenever deemed necessary. Nothing makes this clearer than the Federal Reserve and their management of the monetary system. They manipulate and change policy and the rules on a month-to-month basis at this point. So if you think that BlackRock, the global geopolitical player that they are, is in your best interest, do not sell your Bitcoin to them, because they will use it to stomp you into the ground. They will take your Bitcoin, turn it into shovels, and dig your grave with it. Do not sell to them.